Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We go back 74 years to February 18th, 1948 in an episode of the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, Quiet Suicide. And we thank you for tuning in on this TGI Friday edition, the 18th day of February. And this is the 49th day of 2022. We have 316 days remaining until we get to 2023. The first ongoing filibuster in the Senate began on this date in 1841. It would run from February 18th until March 11th. The American Party, the Know-Nothings, convened on this date in Philadelphia in 1856 to nominate their first presidential candidate, former President Millard Fillmore. In Montgomery, Alabama, on this date in 1861, Jefferson Davis inaugurated as the provisional president of the Confederate States of America. Union forces under Major General William Tecumseh Sherman set the South Carolina State House on fire during the burning of Columbia in 1865. 20 years later, in 1885, Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn first published. Winston Churchill made his first speech in the British House of Commons on this date in 1901. The first Academy Awards announced in 1929 on this date. And in 1943, the Nazis arrested the members of the White Rose movement. The first Church of Scientology established in L.A. on this date in 1954. On that same date, the Long Long Trailer starring Lucy and Desi. And according to Turner Classic Movies host Robert Osborne, studio didn't think the film would be a success. Why watch Lucy and Desi on the big screen when you could watch them on TV for free? Well, Arnaz made a $25,000 bet with the studio that it would make more money than Father of the Bride starring Spencer Tracy and Elizabeth Taylor, and the biggest, highest-grossing comedy at that time. Well, the film earned almost $4 million in the U.S. and $1 million elsewhere, made over $1.5 million bucks. He won the bet. In 1967, Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, died of throat cancer at the age of 63. He spoke in this interview about the effects of a nuclear war.
You can certainly destroy enough of humanity so that only the greatest act of faith can persuade you that what's left will be human.
The father of the atomic bomb, Robert Oppenheimer, passing away on this date in 1967 at 63. The Chicago Seven found not guilty of conspiracy to incite riots at the 1968 Democratic Party National Convention on this date in 1970. In 1972, the California Supreme Court, in the case of People v. Anderson, invalidated the state's death penalty, commuted the sentences of all death row inmates to life in prison. The Shah of Iran spoke on this date in 1974 about the trust between he and his people. Here's part of that speech.
I'm not afraid of my people. It's not a political campaign. I'm not going to look at the polls tomorrow to see if I'm 2 degrees higher or lower. And that's because this confidence exists between me and my people. They trust in me, I trust in them. I believe that I know the job, so I'm not trembling in thinking or saying what I say, because I know that tomorrow I won't have to go to the polls.
The Shah would flee Iran sometime later. Space Shuttle Enterprise test vehicle went on its maiden flight on this date in 1977. Not really a flight, it was sitting on top of a Boeing 747. Snow fell in the Sahara Desert in southern Algeria on this date in 1979, the first recorded time in history. 13 people died and 1 seriously injured on this date in 1983 in the Wami massacre in Seattle, the largest robbery-motivated mass murder in American history. In 1998, 2 white separatists arrested in Nevada accused of plotting a biological attack on New York City subways. FBI agent Robert Hansen arrested for spying for the Soviet Union in 2001. He was ultimately convicted and sentenced to life in prison. And it was on this date in 2001, Dale Earnhardt killed in a crash during the final lap of the Daytona 500, which was won by Michael Waltrip, driving in a car that Earnhardt owned.
This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident and turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
Earnhardt's son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., finished second. That, by the way, was Mike Helton, at the time president of NASCAR. And it was last year on this date, Perseverance, a Mars rover designed to explore Mars as part of NASA's Mars 2020 mission, landed successfully. Among those others who passed away on this date in history, pro wrestler Ivan Koloff, Noam Pitalik, the actor-director, baseball broadcaster Harry Carey, pro wrestler Kerry Von Erich, actor Andy Devine, and gangster Frank Costello, and German religious reformer Martin Luther. This is the birth date of actor Edward Arnold. You hear him in Mr. President here on Classic Radio Theater. Also actor Adolphe Menjou, politician Wendell Willkie, race car driver Enzo Ferrari, saxophonist bandleader Wayne King, musician, songwriter Pee Wee King, country mostly, actor Jack Palance, editor Helen Gurley Brown, also actor George Kennedy, director John Hughes, and one of the best game show hosts of all time, Bill Cullen.
And welcome again to the Big M, where we have a lot going for you. This is Bill Cullen, an exception to the foregoing, with a shopping note for you ladies. Always reach for the items at the back of the supermarket shelf. They just might have last week's prices on them. Keep the customer satisfied is our music anyway. By Simon and what's the other fella?
Home is where I want to be.
Yeah, though we mainly know Cullen as a game show host, he was also an on-air personality on the radio for years. Bill Cullen, born on this date in history. In fact, he would be 102 years old today. Yeah, born back in 1920. Yoko Ono, 89 years of age today.
I feel that John is upstairs, I'm downstairs. Our partnership is still there, and I'm doing the work carrying on the work that we did it together, because he's still there. I mean, he's still here, you know.
The widow of John Lennon, Yoko Ono, 89 today. Sybil Shepherd, 72. Juice Newton, still playing with the Queen of Hearts, 70 years of age. John Travolta, 68 years old. The lady turning around the letters at Wheel of Fortune, Vanna White, 65. Can you believe it? Also from My Bodyguard and the Flamingo Kid, Matt Dillon, 58. Dr. Dre, 57. Molly Ringwald. Yes, you remember her from all of those teen movies in the 80s. 54 years old today. The Biggest Loser's Jillian Michaels, who has a brand new app for fitness, is 48 today. And from Shameless, Jeremy White is 31. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 18th day of February as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
From 74 years ago, February 18th, 1948, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Friday.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if, like a lot of people, you just have a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. It's called MediShare. It's a Christian healthcare sharing program. There are more than 400,000 members now, and they love it. In fact, MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate compared to that of health insurance. And MediShare really is the gold standard when it comes to healthcare sharing. It's been around more than 25 years. Members have shared more than $4 billion of each other's medical bills. Plus, MediShare is for you. It has saved its members billions by advocating on their behalf. Best of all, the typical savings for a family is around $6,000 a year. So if you think you're stuck with a high-cost health plan that doesn't have much to offer, think again. Medishare has a 98% customer satisfaction rating, and you are invited to be part of it. Call now. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now, on this Friday edition of Classic Radio Theater, we go back 74 years to February 18th, 1948, The Whistler and the Quiet Suicide.
The Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler, rated tops in popularity for a longer period of time than any other West Coast program in radio history. And Signal gasoline is tops, too, tops in quality. It takes extra quality, you know, to give you extra mileage. And Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. So look for the Signal circle sign in yellow and black that identifies friendly dealer-owned Signal stations from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story. Quiet Suicide.
It was in a drab room in a commercial hotel in Chicago that Frank Reynolds finally made up his mind. And in a curious way, it was quite appropriate that the decision should come to him there, partway between Los Angeles and New York, partway between two lives. He'd known from the first, of course, that a showdown was inevitable sooner or later. But as time went on, he began to recognize the desperate form the showdown would take. He came to realize that the only way out was murder. The train tickets were in his pocket. His bags were packed, ready to go when he picked up the phone.
Operator.
This is Mr. Reynolds in room 617. I'd like to call New York. This is Frank Reynolds, Long Island 89038.
Thank you, sir. One moment, please.
Right.
Long distance? I'm calling Long Island, New York. Is this Mr. Frank Reynolds?
Yes, that's right.
I have a call for you from Los Angeles, Mr. Reynolds.
Los Angeles? Look, I'm calling New York.
Go ahead, Los
Just a moment,
Angeles.
operator. I took...
Frank.
Millicent, how did you...
Darling, I had to call you. I knew you'd be staying there. And
Oh, I'm sorry, Millie. I can't talk now. My train leaves in a
Frank,
few
you've
minutes.
got to tell me the truth. I can't stand it any longer.
What's the matter, dear?
You're running off that way, not even saying goodbye.
Oh, darling, I told you I had to rush off about that business deal in New York.
But it's more than that. Isn't it, darling?
What do you mean, Millie?
Tell me, Frank, you've got to be fair with me. If it's another woman...
Another woman?
It's on my mind all the time. I can't eat. I can't sleep.
Listen, Millicent, I told you 100 times. There's no other woman, dear. No one but you. Please believe that.
I wish I could.
Ready with New York, Mr. Reynolds. Shall I put them on?
No. Can't you tell I'm still on this call? Get off the line. Millie.
Yes.
Millie, believe me for once, will you? You're imagining things. I love you, baby. There's no one else. I'll just be a good girl till I get back.
All right, Frank. I'm sorry. But you can't blame me. After all, I am your wife.
Yeah, sure. Goodbye, Angel.
Operator?
You can go ahead with New York now.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry about the interruption, sir. I knew you wanted to talk to your wife in New York, but when I found out your wife was still in Los Angeles...
Never mind that. Have you got my New York number?
Yes, sir. I'll connect you. Hello? Hello?
Diane.
Frank.
Diane, listen, honey, I haven't much time. You're expecting me day after tomorrow off the train at Penn Station?
You mean you aren't coming?
Oh, sure, but listen. I'll be in New York tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm flying the rest of the way. Be in early. It'll give us at least a day together, or long. You can meet me at LaGuardia, Flight 8, American Airlines.
But Frank, you do such strange things. What'll I tell Uncle George and the family?
Well, don't tell him anything. That's the idea. Explain to your Uncle George that you're going into town early to shop for a day or two. How we'll skip the whole Long Island tribe and just be together for a day. Sound good?
I think so.
You think so?
It's wonderful, Frank. Yes, you're so clever, darling. I'm a lucky girl to have such a smart husband.
Yes, Frank, the operator has reason to be confused. Because there are two Mrs. Reynolds. One in New York, one in Los Angeles. And you're trembling as you hang up the receiver in Chicago. It becomes even more clear to you now, with the two lives you've been so careful to keep apart, almost meeting accidentally by telephone, how ruinous it would be if Diane and Millicent should ever get together. And the only way out is the desperate way, isn't it? It's too bad, too. Diane is so young, so pretty, so very trusting. At least she always seemed to believe you. But at the airport, you wonder from the moment she meets you if something's wrong.
American Airlines Flight 8, arriving at Gate 3.
Over here, Frank.
American
Diane! Hello! Oh, excited to see me?
Yes, Frank, I'm excited.
Did you drive out?
No, the town car's been
Well,
laid
how
up
about
for
a taxi?
It's right over here.
Oh.
Where to, folks?
Harding Arms apartment. It's on the east side on 52nd.
Harding Arms.
I found it last night after you called.
Oh.
I think you'll like it, Frank.
Anyone know I'm here?
Not a soul. Uncle George thinks I'm shopping. He's meeting me in the morning at Penn Station to be there when your train comes in.
Oh, that's perfect.
And you've really arranged to be on it?
Why not? Just set an early alarm. I'll run out to Newark and get back aboard the train coming from Chicago.
You've planned it all pretty carefully, haven't you, darling?
Of course. I wanted to have you all to myself for a change.
So? You went to all this trouble. Tickets, the telephone calls, everything. Just to be alone with me for a while.
What's wrong with that?
And still you haven't even kissed me yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Diane.
No, please, Frank, not now.
Well, Diane, what's the matter?
I try not to believe it, Frank. I try not to listen to Uncle George. The rest of it.
Oh, what are they saying now?
The same things. That you married me for my money. But that now that Uncle George has made it impossible for you to get a hold of it, you'll leave me.
Well, then what am I doing here, right now?
That's what I don't know, Frank.
Well, they don't waste any time, do they? They get right to you the minute I'm out of town. Diane, are you sure they don't know I'm here?
I told you once, Frank.
All right. Come here.
Oh, Frank.
That better?
It's this way every time. They tell me all those... They make me listen to them, and then...
Then what?
Oh, you kiss me like that, and I forget all about it.
Good. Keep it that way now, huh?
I'll try, Frank. I promise.
Atta girl. It's very important to me, Diane. This day together. I want it all to be perfect.
So it's going to be murder, Frank. The only way out of your marriage to Diane that will leave your other marriage in Los Angeles intact. Divorce is out of the question, naturally. Any notoriety, any publicity on the national press wires, and Millicent might get strange ideas about your business trips to New York. There'd be investigations, bigamy charges, 2 divorces instead of 1. And, of course, the prospect of working for a living when you got out of prison. So it's murder now, a fairly simple kind of murder. The ingredients are all there. Diane, despondent, disillusioned in marriage. A nice, quiet suicide that will rate perhaps 2 inches of copy in the New York papers. No more.
You like the apartment, Frank?
Oh, it's wonderful. 3 rooms, fireplace, no nosy maids or janitors.
Is it everything you wanted?
Everything. Even a back entrance. Ah, you couldn't have done better, darling. We're all set.
Yes, Frank, all set, with a murder planned for tonight. With your alibi still solid on that eastbound train due tomorrow morning at Penn Station. You were careful back in Chicago, weren't you? Arranging things so it would be almost impossible to check either the plane or train tickets. So no one will be able to say you left the train there and arrived in New York ahead of it. On the way to dinner with Diane, the plan begins to operate. You stop the cab at a drugstore, explain that you want to order a prescription sent up to the apartment, and go inside.
Yes, sir?
Oh, I'd like this filled.
25 tablets luminobarbital.
Yeah, it's for my wife.
Mm-hmm. Made out to Mrs. Frank Reynolds.
Isn't that right?
Yes, but I wish she'd come in herself to sign for it. We have to be careful filling prescriptions for sleeping medicine, particularly anything as potent as this.
I understand. Well, look, I'd rather not wait anyway. Why not send it up to her? Harding Arms Apartments. She'll be there to sign it for herself.
Gerald Moore there in this episode of The Whistler from 74 years ago, February 18th, 1948. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Friday. The news from 74 years ago today comes up next. You know, I've told y'all how much my feet hurt from time to time, and I've also told you how much I enjoy getting to work because right here under my desk I have a pair of my slippers. Mike Lindell's new invention with patented fill, the My Pillow fill that, he works in the pillow so well, comfort memory foam, patented impact gel, and it has an indoor-outdoor sole for all-day use. Right now, they are on sale. If you go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, you will see My Pillow slippers at 50% off, but only for a limited time. Plus, you'll get Mike's softcover book, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. Go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, use my promo code USA, or call 1-800-951-8175. Use my promo code USA. Savings on overstock items too at mypillow.com. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station. An episode of The Whistler, as it was originally broadcast on the west coast of the United States on Wednesday, February 18th, 1948. In the newspapers of that Wednesday, 74 years ago, these were some of the headlines. An American Labor Party candidate given all-out backing by Henry A. Wallace won a startling victory last night in a Bronx special congressional election. The major upset considered certain to shock voters and politicians seeking a clue to presidential candidate Wallace's ability to attract the voters in the 1948 national campaign. Leo Isaacson, the ALP nominee, won 22,000 votes with all 159 election districts accounted for in the 24th district contest, more than his 3 opponents combined. The Democratic National Committee last night withheld comment on the victory of the Wallace candidate in the New York congressional election until it has a chance to study the vote. The committee spokesman said a statement may be issued later today. President Truman will send a special message to Congress asking for a $575 million relief and reconstruction program for China. Word of the new foreign spending came from informed congressional sources as the Senate Foreign Relations Committee completed action on the draft of the European Recovery Program and prepared to send the measure to the Senate floor for debate and a vote. The Commerce Department last night halted the issuance of all export licenses for gasoline and fuel oil for 48 hours. Before Friday, a new cut in export quotas probably will be announced, the department spokesman said, to save oil for chilly American homes. Congress yesterday turned the price problem over to a law it never enacted, the law of supply and demand. That was the practical effect of a prediction by Senator Toby, the Republican in New Hampshire, that action on wage and price and rationing legislation will be delayed indefinitely by the market break. Toby telling a reporter, "I think the peak of the high price range is past. I think the edge is off the price problem." Toby said his Senate Banking Committee probably will wait and see what happens before acting on anti-inflation measures. General MacArthur told Congress yesterday Japan will be plunged into a bloodbath of revolutionary violence unless its occupation forces wrest economic control from its discredited masters. The Supreme Allied Commander in the Far East said his efforts to tear down the traditional pyramid of economic power held by only a few families has the cooperation of the Japanese people, who are fully aware that they have been forced to live in poverty and slavery. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Wednesday, February 18th, 1948, on your radio, The Whistler, the conclusion of which you hear next on this Friday Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just two of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
On Saturday's Classic Radio Theater, we go back to February 19th, 1944, Nick Carter, Master Detective, Death After Dark, The Mystery of the Vampire Killings. That's on Saturday's Classic Radio Theater. But now the conclusion of The Whistler, Quiet Suicide, from 74 years ago, February 18th, 1948.
What's the matter, Diane? Don't you like the restaurant?
Oh, yes, it's perfectly fine.
I don't know where we'd get a better dinner.
That's not just that. I'm sorry that it has to end.
Oh, you mean Uncle George, huh?
What? Yes, Uncle George. He'll be with us tomorrow.
Yeah, like William the Conqueror.
He'll probably know all about this.
How? You set the alarm, didn't you?
Yes, but...
Okay. I'll get up, breeze out to Newark. You can greet me with open arms when I step off the track at Penn Station.
You just don't know Uncle George. Look over there.
Huh? What do you mean?
That man who just came in by the hat check stand.
What about him?
I didn't tell you, Frank, but Uncle George has got his mind set on my divorcing you. He wants to prove to me.
So what?
That man over there is one of Uncle George's detectives.
How long has this been going on?
Since you were here before. Uncle's funny. He even has them follow me sometimes.
You? What for?
I don't know. Does it really matter, Frank?
It matters with me. Did he see us, Diane?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Let's get out of here.
Frank, it's no use. Let me finish my drink.
I said let's get out of here. I'll mix you a drink at home.
Frank?
Yeah?
Anyone see you come in?
Not a soul.
It seems silly, you using the back entrance, me coming in the front.
What took you so long?
This.
Oh. My prescription.
The desk clerk gave it to me. I had to sign for it. Is it right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's right. I'll fix you that drink I promised you.
Oh.
What's the matter?
It tastes awfully strong. Did you forget the soda?
Ah, you're going soft on me, darling. Down the hatch.
Skull.
Skull.
There. This has been a funny evening. A funny visit.
There you go again. What's the matter?
Visit. That's an interesting word. Visit.
Look, darling.
My husband's visiting me for a few days. It's nice to see you, dear. Nice to look across the room and find you there.
You're in a strange mood tonight.
No. Not strange, really. Just devoted. And maybe a little disappointed. Love does a lot of funny things, you know. Tops up your eyes and your ears. Keeps you believing in someone no matter what people tell you.
You're just tired, Diane.
Yes. Yes, I guess I am. Tired of secret meetings with my own husband. Tired of lying to Uncle George, trying to defend you when I...
When you what?
There is another woman, isn't there, Frank? In Los Angeles?
Don't be silly.
It's like a movie. Sometimes, when I close my eyes and try to sleep, I see you getting off a train, meeting a smart-looking blonde in a red convertible.
You better get those ideas out of your head.
You mind if I stretch out a little?
Not at all.
I really don't think you're so terrible, darling. I just love you.
Sure.
Men think women don't know. They think they don't even suspect a little bit. But they do. They do, Frank. They do.
Yes, Frank. That sleeping medicine works fast. You watch the clock. 7:30, 8, 9, and then finally reach for her wrist and feel her pulse. There's nothing there now. Nothing. It takes a few minutes more to check the room, tidy it up, get rid of the cigarette butts that aren't stained with lipstick, wipe off fingerprints, scrape the druggist label off the bottle of sleeping pills, and then quietly you let yourself out the door and hurry toward the back service stairs, and then...
Is this the floor? Yes, sir. Mrs. Reynolds' apartment is 20B, around the corner near the rear stairway.
Are you sure she's here?
Yes, she came in an hour or so ago.
Alone?
Yes, sir, alone. Shall I wait?
Stand by a minute. I'll see if she'll talk to me for a while.
I'll wait.
It's the detective, Frank, coming from the elevator. You're trapped, with a choice of meeting him or running back down to the lobby. It's then that you feel the key in your hand.
The apartment. Yeah.
Mrs. Reynolds. Mrs. Reynolds, your uncle wants me to talk to you. Mrs. Reynolds, are you all right? Right. I know she's in there, sir. Bring me the pass here, will you?
There's no time to think, Frank. You hold your breath, press back against the wall behind the door, and then...
She must be in there, sir. There's only one way out of the building at this time of night. Yeah, open it up.
That's it.
Mrs. Reynolds!
You take the only chance you have, Frank. As they go in, you slide around the door in the darkness and then out into the hall.
Here, what's this? Get the light.
Mrs. Reynolds!
You aren't conscious of time now, Frank. Maybe it's an hour, maybe two since that awful moment in the apartment. But things are beginning to settle down now as you sit in the dim railroad station in Newark, waiting for that train of yours to pull in. You settle back against the bench, vaguely aware of the smell of the oiled wood floors, and then the boards creak slightly as someone moves toward you in the darkness.
Got a light, buddy? What? Oh, yeah. Here you are. Thanks. Yeah, thanks very much. Oh, mind if I keep these? Oh, no. Go ahead. Oh, dull hour, 3 in the morning. Waiting for a train? Yeah. It's a funny thing, guy sitting in this drab station waiting for the train from Chicago at this hour. Listen, Yes, sir. Odd thing. You know, you could grab a taxi outside and get to New York in an hour. still you're waiting here. Why?
Look, you can figure that out for yourself.
Sit down, Mr. Reynolds.
How did you... My name.
It was printed on that match folder you handed me.
What do you want?
I want you to help me decide whether your wife's death was suicide or murder.
She's dead?
Yeah. After talking to her uncle, I decided to drop over here and see if you really were on the train.
Oh, well, listen, I can explain about that.
You can save all that for later. I'm Pearson, Mr. Reynolds, New York homicide. Why don't we skip the train, start back to New York right now? They're waiting for us back at your apartment.
So now you're faced with it, Frank. Your big alibi, the keystone in your whole plan, is gone. Once or twice on the way back to the apartment, you almost decide to get it over with. To tell Pearson the whole truth and avoid the dread questioning you know is sure to come. But somehow you're not quite ready to give up. And when you finally walk into the apartment to face Diane's Uncle George, you get an idea of a way to bluff it through.
I tell you, this man's a murderer, Pearson.
Just a minute, Mr. Breckenridge. Just a moment. Let me handle it.
I told you. I can explain everything.
All right, you'll have a chance to, but let me start out, huh? Now, it seems you're on your way to New York on a train. You switched to a plane somewhere without telling anyone but your wife. Figure you can intercept the same train a day or so later, give yourself a solid alibi.
There's no use denying it, Frank.
Who's denying it?
What?
You mean you admit it?
Most of it. Just one word I don't like. Alibi. Oh, it's true about the train. I set it up by telephone from Chicago.
You had a good reason, of course.
A very good reason.
What are you talking about?
You, Uncle George. You've never given us a minute's peace. Sticking your nose into our business, trying to poison Diane's mind against me. That's why I did it, Pearson. I wanted that day together. Just Diane and I. My wife, the two of us. By ourselves.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I was forced into it, Lieutenant. Ask him about the private detective. Yeah. We go out for a quiet little dinner. At 7 o'clock last night, one of his bloodhounds follows us into the Shamrock Club.
We know all about that. So, what happened after you got home?
I told her. She either forgets Uncle George or I was through. She broke down. She got hysterical. Well, I walked out. I paced the streets for a while, and then I went over to Newark.
You didn't come back here?
No.
I see. Mr. Kittredge, will you step in here, please?
Kittredge?
Yes. A druggist, Mr. Reynolds. I want you to meet him.
Yes, Lieutenant?
Oh, this is Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Kittredge. Do you,
Yes, sir. That's the man who ordered the prescription.
Oh, of course. If you thought hard enough, Mr. Kittredge. You remember I told you that prescription was for my wife.
Then why did you order it?
Because she asked me to on the way to dinner.
And she gave you a prescription made out by a doctor in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles? Why, I can't.
Yes, you don't know how a Los Angeles doctor could prescribe pills for your wife when she's never been there. Well, neither do I. There's something else, Mr. Reynolds. I've been in the homicide division for 8 years now. I guess I've investigated 100 suicides, and a lot of them women. You know something, Mr. Reynolds? I have yet to find one, particularly a woman, who didn't want to have the last word.
I don't know what you mean.
A suicide note. Your uncle's detective comes in here, finds the girl in the bed, a bottle of sleeping pills next to her. Now, does it seem logical she'd set up a thing like that without doing the one thing they all do?
I told you. She was despondent. She wasn't thinking straight when I left her.
Yeah, that's what you say. I say she went to bed with every intention of getting up. All right, come on, Reynolds. You can get in touch with your lawyer on the way to head.
Now, wait a minute. I didn't do anything, Lieutenant. You've got to believe me.
Skip it. I've got no time for that.
Just a minute, Lieutenant.
Huh?
I just can't take this on myself. What I feel personally and what is just are two different things, I guess. Diane was in Los Angeles a month ago.
What? You mean she was?
Well, that's interesting.
I should have told you before, I suppose, but...
Oh, think nothing of it. And I suppose you have the suicide note tucked up your sleeve?
Well, I do have one, as a matter of fact. An old one. You see, Diane did try to kill herself just last month. And that's why I've been having her followed.
Well, Reynolds, I guess I was wrong. Yeah, we all make mistakes once in a while. I'm sorry.
It's over now, Frank. A few more questions and you'll be released. Free of suspicion that you murdered Diane, wife number 1. Free to go back to Los Angeles and someone they know nothing about, Millicent, wife number 2. And it's ironic that Diane's Uncle George came through with the one statement that could save you. Yes, you were as surprised as Lieutenant Pearson to hear that Diane had actually gone to Los Angeles. And you realize now that she knew the truth about Millicent. That if you'd left her alone, she might have tried suicide a second time, successfully. You're going to be careful now, Frank. No missteps, no false moves. Taking the cue from the lieutenant.
Yeah, this is a tough business I'm in, Reynolds. You gotta play hunches, you know.
Yeah.
I came into the room tonight and I took a look around. I see there isn't a note. Say to myself, this lady went to bed figuring she'd be up and going the next day. Intent, you know. Yeah, it's pretty important stuff.
I understand, Lieutenant.
Yeah. I was trained to look for intent above everything else. Well, sometimes you go wrong, though, just like now. Sometimes. Well, now. What do you know about that? Intent, you know. That's what they're going to ask me, Reynolds. What was in the little lady's mind?
The clock. I don't understand it.
I don't blame you. Now, why do you suppose she set that alarm clock? I'll tell you why. She expected it to wake her up. She expected to be alive right now. You know, I guess we'll just have to start the questions all over again. That clock's a little noisy for a nice, quiet suicide.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Wednesday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil, and fine quality automotive accessories. Signal has asked me to remind you, to get the most driving pleasure, drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Gerald Moore and Lorette Philbrand. The Whistler was produced by George W. Allen with story by Robert Eisenbach and Jackson Gillis, and music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. Next Wednesday, for a full hour of mystery over most of these stations, tune in half hour earlier. Enjoy The Saint, as well as The Whistler. This is Marvin Miller speaking.
From February 18th, 1948, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there and find our social media links, classicradio.stream. If you miss a day on this station, you don't have to miss a single show. You can hear them on classicradio.stream and also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, and also Audible. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Have a great weekend. Thank this station and support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to come with you each and every Friday at this time. And tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.